After something ends and you start feeling directionless, a lot of men try to solve that feeling with more discipline. And on the surface, that makes sense. You start training harder, working more, building routines, trying to get yourself back together. And honestly, that makes sense. That structure can be powerful. Discipline can help you rebuild yourself. It can give your nervous system something steady to return to when everything inside feels scattered. But this is where something important needs to be understood. Not everything that looks like discipline is actually discipline. Sometimes it's suppression, and they can look very similar from the outside. Both can look like waking up early, going to the gym, working hard, staying focused, not complaining, pushing through the discomfort. But internally, they feel very different. Discipline comes from alignment, suppression comes from avoidance. Discipline says, I'm choosing this because it's aligned with who I'm becoming. Suppression says, I'm doing this so I don't have to feel what's underneath. And that difference matters a lot because if you're using discipline to avoid pain, then the pain doesn't actually go anywhere. It just gets buried underneath productivity. And if you pay attention, you can usually feel the difference in your body. Real discipline has steadiness in it. There's effort, but there's also some sense of grounding. You feel challenged, but not disconnected from yourself. Suppression feels tighter, more urgent. Like if you stop moving, everything you've been avoiding might catch up to you. So you keep pushing, not because you're clear, but because slowing down feels dangerous. And this is where a lot of men get stuck without even realizing it. They think healing means becoming harder, feeling less, needing nothing, being unaffected. But that's not healing. That's emotional shutdown with a routine wrapped around it. And I'm not saying discipline is wrong. Discipline is absolutely necessary, even when your emotions are heavy, your motivation is low, and part of you just wants to collapse. Sometimes you do need that structure. You do need to train. You do need to show up even when you don't feel like it. But the deeper question is, what is your discipline actually serving? Is it helping you return to yourself, or is it helping you run away from yourself? Because grounded discipline doesn't disconnect you from your body, it actually brings you back into relationship with it. Maybe you train not to punish yourself, but to feel your strength again. Maybe you work not to prove you're worth something, but to rebuild direction. Maybe you keep your routines, not because you're trying to outrun the pain, but because your system needs rhythm and structure while it heals. That's very different. For example, take something as simple as going to the gym after a breakup. One version looks like, I'm going to destroy myself in here so I don't feel anything. That might look disciplined, and some people might even praise it. But underneath, it's emotional avoidance. Another version looks like, I feel awful today. My chest hurts. My mind keeps going back to this. But I'm going to move my body anyways because I don't want to abandon myself. That's discipline. That's presence. That's groundedness. It's the same action, but completely different internal states. And this applies beyond just training. You can work from suppression, you can date from suppression, you can chase success from suppression. You can build an entire life that looks impressive from the outside, but is actually being built around not feeling something inside. And this matters in relationships too, because suppression doesn't only show up after heartbreak, it can show up inside relationships as well. Looking calm while internally shutting down, staying quiet instead of expressing what's true, acting unbothered while resentment slowly builds up inside of you. That's not emotional strength, that's just suppression wearing emotional armor. And eventually, your body starts to show it. You feel burnt out, you're more irritable at times, you feel numb, like you feel restlessness, you feel like you're doing everything right, but still not feeling okay or grounded in yourself. That's often the sign that what looked like discipline actually became disconnection. Because real discipline doesn't require you to hate the part of you that hurts. It doesn't require you to shame yourself into some sort of action. It doesn't require you to become emotionless. Real discipline is the ability to act in alignment while still being honest about what you feel. It's saying, I'm hurting and I'm still going to take care of myself. I don't feel motivated and I'm still going to show up anyway. I feel the pull to collapse, but I'm going to choose something that supports who I'm becoming. That's not suppression, that's self leadership. This is where grounded masculinity matters, because grounded masculinity doesn't use discipline to escape emotion, it uses discipline to contain emotion so that it can be processed without taking over your life. Containment doesn't mean locking it away, it means giving yourself enough structure that you can feel what you feel without completely letting it run the day. And when I say containment, I don't mean bottling things up. I don't mean pretending you're fine. I don't mean locking emotion away. Containment means being able to hold emotion without immediately acting from it, dumping it onto someone else or trying to outrun it. For example, in a relationship, containment might mean feeling hurt, but not instantly becoming defensive. Feeling anger, but not immediately reacting from it. Feeling anxiety without making the other person responsible for regulating all of it. That's emotional capacity, and discipline helps build that. Because structure creates enough steadiness within you for your emotions to move through you without owning the entire moment. Containment might look like training, then letting yourself sit quietly afterwards. Working, then actually checking in with what's still there. Sticking to your routines, but not pretending you're fine when you're not. And that balance matters because if you only feel, you may lose structure, but if you only structure, you may never feel. And groundedness is learning how to hold both. So if you've been trying to become more disciplined, ask yourself honestly, is this bringing me closer to myself or further away? Am I building structure or am I just using structure to avoid what I haven't felt yet? And there's no shame in the answer. The point isn't to judge yourself, it's to become more honest about it. Because once your discipline becomes honest, it becomes powerful. Not because you're escaping pain, but because you're learning how to move through life without abandoning yourself. And that's the difference. Suppression can make you look strong while disconnecting you from yourself and everyone around you. Discipline makes you stronger because it keeps you connected even when things are hard.